Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Mark Keller. We are glad you've joined us today. We have another jam-packed show for you tonight, so we are going to get right into it. Kevin Dunleavy joins me first to catch you up on what's happening in boys basketball. He'll tell us about big wins for a couple of Washington County schools over Frederick County teams that had previously had their numbers. Bob Parcelletti stops in to talk girls basketball, and he is on milestone watch. 3 girls have reached 4 digits in career scoring this season, and another is on the verge of doing the same. And finally, Dan Kaufman is here for a first look at indoor track this season. All of the preliminary meets are over, and the Washington County Championships are this weekend. We'll look at who has impressed so far this year. Plus a quick look back at a big weekend in wrestling and an update on our upcoming live game coverage. Are you ready? Because we are. Kevin Dunleavy joins me. Inside Sports returns right after this.
Cynthia Muller-Sullivan of Sullivan Select Real Estate has been recognized by HomeLight in 3 categories: Top Overall Producer, Top Seller's Agent, and Top Agent that sells for more. Unlike other real estate venues, agents cannot pay to be recognized by HomeLight. If you are considering the sale of your home, call Cynthia for a free market analysis, 301-988-5115. When it comes to real estate, select the best with Sullivan Select.
If you have children entering kindergarten in the near future, help them get off to a great start. Pre-K is one of the most effective ways to prepare children to enter kindergarten ready to succeed. At home, parents can help support their child's development through reading, counting, exploring, and playing. Like you, we know a child's early years lay the foundation for all that is to come. Kindergarten readiness matters. Find out more at ontrackwc.org. Learn today, succeed tomorrow. Brought to you by OnTrack Washington County and Antietam Broadband.
Thank you for seeing us so quickly. He's just unbearable when he's sick.
I'm glad that you came right into Meritus Urgent Care.
We have just what you need to feel better faster, young bear.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Meritus Urgent Care is located off Moggins Avenue on Creighton Boulevard. For more information, visit meritushealth.com/urgent care.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Start out today talking boys basketball with Herald Mail insider Kevin Dunleavy. Kevin, thanks for joining us. Let's talk about a couple of Washington County teams who got off the skids a little bit here against some Frederick County foes that really kind of had their number recently. Let's talk about Williamsport first, finally getting over the hump and beating Oakdale.
Yep, they won 76-65. They had lost 8 in a row to Oakdale. Ryan Grable, their coach, had never beaten Oakdale. 4 of those 8 losses had come in the playoffs, so season enders. So this was a huge nemesis, and they finally got him. And the best thing that Ryan said afterwards was that the past didn't mean anything, that these seniors that he's got now are a special group, and they believe this is their year, and they don't even think about the past. So that was the best quote from the night as far as I was concerned, because that's the best way to approach it.
And Lincoln Ball certainly did his part in that with a double-double, 19 points, 14 rebounds as well. He really played his heart out.
Yeah, and a big key to that was Javon Yarborough, a sophomore, came in and scored 13 points, and he does a really good job handling the ball and allows Lincoln to stay closer to the basket, which is big because they're a big team when they've got Lincoln at 6'5". They've got Ephraim Aqua, who's also 6'5", as their center. He creates a lot of havoc with his length as the center on defense especially. And then Makai Nelson is 6'2", but he plays like he's 6'5". So it's like having a really imposing group in the front court there.
We'll talk a little bit more about some of those guys here coming up. Let's talk about South Hagerstown now. Kind of did the same thing. Couldn't get over the hump before against Thomas Johnson. They got the job done.
There's no shame, not getting over the hump against Thomas Johnson because they've been in the state final or state semifinals the last 2 years. So, but they had lost 7 in a row. Some of those were tough losses that they were right there and close. But they won the game 74-71. Adam Turner had 18. Roldan Calderon Cepeda had 16. They've got 3 really dynamic guys that are all capable of scoring and all in different ways. So. They're still trying to find their way as far as, how to set things up on the court because they do have a lot of talent, but not a whole lot of experience. So maybe it's coming a little bit, and they'll be really ready for the playoffs because they definitely have some talent.
And one of the things about South coach Chad Brashears is he's an optimist, and certainly if there's anyone who can sort of take a win like this one and build off it, it would be him.
Oh, very much so. I think that's the thing that keeps you always believing that they've got something to play for, because he's had some rough seasons the last 2 years and not a lot of talent and not a lot of experience. So he's had tough teams to try to keep motivated and keep going. And this year he's got some talent. So there's a lot going for them now.
Let's talk about some of the individuals. We mentioned Williamsport. Let's start with Boonesboro first, though, and a guy you talked about last week in Cole Haga down there, who's really been lighting it up for the Warriors.
Yeah, last week we collected stats for the first time, and it's always interesting to see what kind of stats come in because it's your first look at, field goal percentage and stuff like that. And Cole Haga's really popped out, 52% from the field, 83% free throw, but the most startling thing was rebounds. He's got 8.3 per game, third best in the county, and he's 5'9". So, and it's a guy that didn't even start last year for them. He got, a lot of minutes for them, but, he's been a real key for them getting off to a 6-4 start, which is their best start, I think, in 13 years.
It's been unusual in years past for the Warriors to have had success. Haga, obviously, a big part in that. We talked about Lincoln Ball a little bit earlier and his stats in the win over Oakdale, but that's been sort of all season long that he's building that, and he's among the leaders in just about every category.
Yeah, every category. He's within the top 6, and this is no surprise. He leads in rebounds, and he did this last year. He was a stat sheet stuffer and can do so much on the floor. Sometimes he won't score, and he's the most important player on the floor. Scoring is not the first thing he's got to do to really impact the game. So, he's just having a tremendous year. He's the hands down player of the year if we took a vote today. But there's plenty left in the season to play. But he's been by far the most important player in the county to his team.
And the good news for the Wildcats is he's not the only guy who's doing it for them. They have some other guys who are also putting up some pretty big numbers.
Yeah, and again, shooting percentages are impressive. Makai Nelson, 67% from the floor, which from what I can tell is by far the best in the county. We didn't collect stats from every coach. We couldn't get everything, but that was really eye-popping. Caleb Bowers, who's averaging 17.6 a game points, he's hitting 87% of his free throws, and I don't remember a guy doing that in the county for a while. So, a lot of positive things going on there for Williamsport.
And we've talked about all of them, but we haven't mentioned the top scorer right now in Washington County. He's down at St. James, and I'm going to let Kevin pronounce his name.
Martinez Sabaliauskas. That's about as close as I can get to it. But he's really an impressive player. He's from Eastern Europe, and he has an inside-out game. He's 6'8", and he can really shoot from the outside. He's got some definite Division I potential, I would think, and handles the ball very well as well. So he's a real player to watch and kind of fun to see how his game works over here.
Real quick as we close out, got a couple county matchups coming up here on Friday. Hancock at Clear Spring and Boonesboro at Williamsport. Couple nice matchups in the county. Yeah,
the Hancock game is interesting. As far as I can tell, we probably need Tim Kelby on this because he knows more about the history of this. But as far as I can tell, the last time Hancock beat Clear Spring was 2007. But not absolutely sure about that, which would be about 24 straight losses from what I could tell. But Hancock's got a real chance to beat them this time. They might have the 3 best players on the floor in Justice Allen, Reese McLean, and Brady Souders. So that's going to be a tough task for Clear Spring. They're 2-8. They won last night, got a good win against FS Key, so it should be a good game.
Okay, Kevin, thanks a bunch for joining us. Stay with us. Bob Parcelletti next with girls basketball right after this.
Hello, my name is Jim Gross, and I'm very involved in our local sports community, as you may have seen me on the volleyball court, the wrestling mat, or the softball field officiating sports. I'm also the broker and owner of Absolute Real Estate, as I've been making it easy for over 20 years in Washington County for people to buy and sell homes. Call me, Jim Gross, at 301-788-7888 for absolutely the best in savings and service, and ask me about my sports organization donation program.
For my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed. But I do. And people are starting to notice.
Joker. Rent it now.
Digital customers, tune to Channel 1 to get started.
Access to high-speed internet is critical for school-aged children. Since 2014, Antietam Broadband and Washington County Public Schools have partnered to connect students and families in need with low-cost, high-speed internet service at home. Every child deserves an opportunity to succeed. Ask your child's teacher for more information on the Antietam EduNet program. A message from Washington County Public Schools and Antietam Broadband.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We change gears now from boys basketball to girls basketball. Herald Mail insider Bob Parcelletti joins me. Bob, thanks for being here. And we've seen four teams kind of separate themselves from all the rest here in Washington County as far as the best of the best goes. St. James and St. Maria Goretti on in the private school side, Williamsport and Smithsburg on the public school side. And it used to be that one or two star players did you just fine in girls basketball, but these four teams are doing it with double that.
Well, and it seems like, in the NBA they made the big move, and all of a sudden all these guys are getting multiple superstars in order to play well. It's been kind of that way for the last probably about 10 years. And not that they do that in high school, but it just seems like there's a lump of 3 or 4 girls that are working very well together in these schools that really make things happen for them, and they're successful.
And we're seeing success from those, and St. James really kind of standing out from there. 4 Division I talents, 3 of those girls already committed to Division I schools, and another who appears to be on that way. And talk about that dynamic for them and how that has helped them become successful.
Well, they have Skylar Treadwell, who's going to Seton Hall. They have Morgan Mosley, who's going to be heading to East Carolina. Morgan McMahon has committed to go to Colgate. She's only a junior. And then you have Gabby Grantham Medley, who's only a freshman and making some waves already. And they have the type of team where it's wide open. I mean, I think what happens is usually a lot of, especially on the girls' levels, there's usually that 1 or 2 players that can play. With these 4, they can stretch the floor out and really thin things out so it's easier to move around. And I think with St. James, McMahon is the point guard. Grantham and Medley gets out there and she runs the floor and finds openings to make things happen. She'll go inside, go outside. And then you have the Morgan Mosley and Treadwell, who crash the boards and are getting a lot of rebounds, but they both do it in different ways in order to get it. And it just seems to work when they work well.
St. James seems to be kind of the main example of that. But tell us about how the other 3 schools that we mentioned here, how they kind of incorporate that same idea.
Well, Smithsburg's bouncing back. Went to the state finals last year. They have 4 girls, main girls back returning. Ashley Davis was their point guard last year. Now they moved her over to her natural position of shooting guard because Lexi Henderson's healthy and playing. Then they have Bailey Grove in the center, who's she just gets in there and ruts around and does everything in the inside for them. She gets to the foul line, she gets rebounds. And then they have Michaela Remmel, who's another one. And it's sort of similar, but in a different fashion, because with Davis and Henderson, they have more 2 point guards basically to set things up. And they are a little more outside oriented, but they get the ball inside and score a lot and really attack the boards.
And we'll talk a little bit more about Smithsburg and Williamsport coming up here. Let's talk about some milestones right now. You're kind of on milestone watch right now. 3 girls already this season have gone over the 1,000 point mark, and another one on the way. It's kind of a huge deal for girls basketball.
Yeah. Well, we have Madison Mertz from North went over earlier this year. This past week, Chloe Stotler from Hancock went over the 1,000, and Morgan Mosley went over 1,000 within the last couple weeks. And probably on Thursday, you will see Peyton Kershaw from Kirshner from Goretti reach it. She's at 995 right now after the game on Monday.
And you saw that game on Monday against Winters Mill and mentioned the game that Kirshner had really stood out to you.
Well, she was basically on an island because a lot of fouls in the first quarter. So she was the only one that basically stayed on the floor the entire time. She scored 17 out of their 33 points in the first half and really gave them something to anchor on. And then in the second half, Winters Mill came out and decided that they were going to try to take her away and started running a box and one on her, which took her out of the game, but it opened the door for everybody else to go in and score. And they basically got to a 19-point lead and never really had any problem the rest of the way. Even though it wasn't the cleanest game, it stayed at that 19-point.
So Kirshner only 5 points away from that 1,000-point mark. Sounds pretty confident that she'll get that on Thursday night. We said we would go back to Smithsburg and Williamsport. Let's do that now. Both of those, the top two teams in public schools here in Washington County, but got a tough road ahead right now, and they have a matchup coming up here in about a week and a half as well.
Well, I think this is where they discover themselves this period. Both of them are going through a stretch where they're playing three of the stronger teams in Frederick County, which are Oakdale, Middletown, and Walkersville. And Williamsport's just finished that gauntlet, and they went 1-2. They beat Walkersville. And Smithsburg is 1-1, and they have Middletown on Friday. So I think this is the group where they sit there and say, okay, how do we sit coming into the playoffs? Because those are the teams that are going to have to get through to, especially for Williamsport, or to get through to go anywhere in the state playoffs. And for Smithsburg, it just kind of is a tune-up because those are tougher competition right now that they can really learn something from.
It'll certainly be a nice tune-up for them getting ready for the postseason as well. And we mentioned we'll have live coverage of the Smithsburg-Williamsport game at Williamsport High School on Tuesday, January 28th, right here on Antietam Broadband. I'll have more about our live coverage as well coming up in our closing segment here today. Bob, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll have Dan Kaufman coming up next with Indoor Track. Stay with us.
Sullivan Select Real Estate has been recognized by HomeLight in 3 categories: top overall producer, top seller's agent, and top agent that sells for more. Unlike other real estate venues, agents cannot pay to be recognized by HomeLight. If you are considering the sale of your home, call Cynthia for a free market analysis, 301-988-5115. When it comes to real estate, select the best with Sullivan Select.
Introducing Antietam Smart Wi-Fi, the ultimate home networking solution. Smart Wi-Fi expands your wireless network and can eliminate Wi-Fi dead zones. Adding Smart Wi-Fi access points creates a Wi-Fi blanket for all of your devices, so you get consistent wireless internet speeds anywhere in your house. So go ahead and browse, game, and stream video in any room. Make the most of your internet with Smart Wi-Fi from Antietam Broadband. Smart homes deserve Smart Wi-Fi.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We change gears now again and talk indoor track. Herald Mail insider Dan Kaufman joins us for the first time this winter sports season. Dan, thanks for joining us. And the indoor track season's almost gone, it seems like. We're getting ready for the Washington County Championships. So let's talk about what's happened so far and kind of the big story so far. South Hagerstown's boys.
Yeah, they won the Dickinson Invitational with 90-plus points, beat a 60-team field up in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. That's definitely the largest meet that any of our county teams has participated in, and to win that team title is really impressive, and I think that makes South the favorites heading into the county championship. Now, it's always a little different with the county championship. That Dickinson Invitational is about star power, and as we've talked about before on this show, the county championship is often about depth as much as it is about stars, but certainly South has the star power to be a real threat, and I would make them the favorites.
Khalil Booker for South Hagerstown. Sprinter has really stood out so far this season and did at that meet as well.
Absolutely shattered the county record in the 55 in an almost unbelievable time of 6.32 seconds. That was a quarter second faster than he had ever run the event before. And I mean, we're talking a 6-second event. That's incredible. Just one of those races where he got an unbelievable start and just was the race of his life. And at the time, it ranked 3rd in the country. I don't know where it ranks as we stand today, but certainly an elite effort from him. I got to see if he can duplicate anything like that, but he's going to head into the county meet as the favorite in that event. This has been a strong year for the county for boys sprinters. Prince Proctor at South Hagerstown also ran 6.53, which on its own would have been the fastest time in Washington County since 2011. You've got North Hagerstown's Devin Napier, who's also the leading runner in the 300. And so the very strong sprint crew out there this year. Definitely the sprints are stronger than they've been in years.
And the time that Booker beat in the 55 was Anthony Winters' 2011 time, 6.49, a name you probably remember from track and football years and years ago. But so we talked about the city schools. What about the schools in the county? What do they have going into the county? I know we have some cross-country runners who are making a name indoors as well.
Absolutely. We'll hit both of them. First of all, with the boys, Iggy Chalker of Williamsport, who won the state cross-country title. He is just off to a flying start with this indoor season. He's pushed his 1600 personal best to 434.29. That's up there with the best in the county. It's not a county record yet, but he's certainly approaching that territory. Also has run a 9:38 in the 3200, so he's a big name to watch. And then on the girls' side, at Smithsburg, Daly Yowker, who also won a cross-country title, and she's leading both the 1600 and the 3200. On the girls' side, 5:44 for the 1600 and 12:16 for the 3200. And I think it just goes to show that those cross-country runners that have standout years, it's also a great base for heading onto the track. Oftentimes, they wind up getting brilliant starts in the indoor season as well, and this year's been no exception.
So Iggy Chalker standing out for Williamsport. Smithsburg on the boys' side as well. Chalker being a senior, Smithsburg has a newbie who's really kind of stood out so far. No
question. Cameron Rajanis, a freshman, has really excelled. He's got the top mark convincingly in the 500 so far at 110.58. That's a phenomenal time for as young as he is. I know I talked to Smithsburg's coach, and he just said this kid's got speed, he's got stamina, he's got strength. And to be so young, I mean, the sky's the limit for this kid. We're going to be talking about him for years to come. So, yeah, absolutely a brilliant start to his career.
Back to Williamsport and a couple of the throwers there for the Williamsport boys, kind of looking pretty good going into the counties.
Right, Braden Marker and Evan Wright. They're the only two kids in the county who have thrown farther than 38 feet, and they've both thrown 41 feet. So another, I could see Williamsport being sneaky strong in this on the boys' side of this county meet. They certainly have some talent with Chalker and their throwers. Their 4x800 relay is very strong. So they've got a nice base to work off of. I don't know if they have quite enough behind that to really threaten for the team title, but certainly they've got some names to look out for on Friday.
Let's look over to the girls' side. You mentioned Daly Yonker, and we haven't seen much separation yet on the girls' side as far as teams go.
Yeah.
What are things looking like as the counties come up here on Friday?
I could see, North Hagerstown's got some strong runners. They got Sida Sharif, who leads the county in both the 55 and 300 dashes, a very strong sprinter. That 55 dash is a really strong event. That's going to be fun on Friday because you've got Boonesboro's Adrian Gaskins, and you got another North sprinter, Samaria Brown. And those three sprinters are all within a tenth of a second of each other as far as their best times this year. So that'll be fun to watch. Boonesboro's we always have to watch for Boonesboro at these county meets. They've won on the boys and girls side a large number of these over the last decade. They're going to be in the hunt. It's going to be tough. I mean, between North, Smithsburg, Boonesboro, I could even see Williamsport sneaking in there with some places, but probably those first three teams that I've mentioned are the ones to watch. A big help for North. Mary Claire Anderson has returned from injury. She just ran a 2:30 800-meter run, which is by far and away the tops in the county. So if they've got Mary Claire Anderson back at full strength, that really helps North's bid for a girls' team title here on Friday.
You mentioned Daly Yonker for Smithsburg, but Boonesboro has some competition for her, and it's another freshman as well.
Another freshman making waves. It's unusual to have two of them in the same season, but Boonesboro's Cammie Rowe really threatening Yonker a little bit, especially in the 1600. She's run 5:52, which is only 7 or 8 seconds behind what Daly Yonker has done so far. She's a little further back in the 3200, but she's sub 13 minutes in that event as well. So again, a brilliant start to her career.
And as far as the high jump, you mentioned could be another kind of stiff competition there.
Yeah.
Several girls in the running for top honors
right.
there.
Yeah, South Hagerstown's Sadie Leisinger and North Hagerstown's Brianna Smith have both cleared 5 feet this season. And you got Boonesboro's Nia Brown just an inch behind them at 4'11". The high jump is one of those events that it can throw up surprises no matter what the standings look like. You know, you can have a great day, you can have a bad day. It's kind of like the pole vault in that regard. And so with these 3 girls, anything is possible.
So all the preliminary meets pretty much in the books here in indoor track. The Washington County meet taking place here on Friday the 17th. And then from there, we're really into championship season at this point.
It just keeps rolling week after week at this point. Once Friday hits, it's pretty much you got CMCs, region meets, and state meets, and they all hit in about a 5-week span. So we're off and running.
Yeah, by the middle of February, track season will be done, and we'll have snow, I'm sure. Snow always seems to come around the time of the state indoor track meets, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Dan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
No problem.
We'll close things out for this edition of Inside Sports right after this.
Introducing Antietam Smart Wi-Fi, the ultimate home networking solution. Smart Wi-Fi expands your wireless network and can eliminate Wi-Fi dead zones. Adding Smart Wi-Fi access points creates a Wi-Fi blanket for all of your devices, so you get consistent wireless internet speeds anywhere in your house. So go ahead and browse, game, and stream video in any room. Make the most of your internet with Smart Wi-Fi from Antietam Broadband. Smart homes deserve Smart Wi-Fi.
Hello, my name is Jim Gross, and I'm very involved in our local sports community, as you may have seen me on the volleyball court, the wrestling mat, or the softball field officiating sports. I'm also the broker and owner of Absolute Real Estate, as I've been making it easy for over 20 years in Washington County for people to buy and sell homes. Call me, Jim Gross, at 301-788-7888 for absolutely the best in savings and service, and ask me about my sports organization donation program.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We have a few notables from high school wrestling last weekend that we want to tell you about before we go. The Rebel Duels were held at South Hagerstown High School Friday and Saturday. Williamsport had won the last 6 team titles in the event and went 9-1 this year, but that was only good enough for third, as Marriott's Ridge went 10-0 and took home the team gold. Boonesboro also went 9-1 and edged Williamsport in a tiebreaker to finish second. The host Rebels finished 5-5, while St. James went 3-7. There were a number of wrestlers who went 10-0 for the weekend, with Williamsport's Brandon Oyster the headliner. Oyster had 10 first-period pins to improve to 33-0 on the season, and in the process became the Wildcats' all-time wins leader with 144 and growing. He surpassed Corey Crawford, who held the prior mark at 140 wins. Zach Starr, Zayden Meyer, Landon Harbaugh, and Brandon Myers also finished the weekend unbeaten for the Wildcats. Sean Reinbolt and Darby Bryant finished 10-0 for Boonesboro, with Bryant running his season record to a perfect 29-0. Caleb Everhart and Nick Kelball both went 10-0 for South Hagerstown. Andy Mason will be back with us next week for a more in-depth look at wrestling. Well, since we talked last week, we've doubled up the number of live events we'll be bringing you in the winter season on Antietam Broadband, and we'll get that live schedule underway next week. On Tuesday, January 21st, we'll be at Williamsport High School for boys basketball as the Wildcats play host to North Hagerstown. The following week, on Tuesday, January 28th, we'll go back to Williamsport, this time for girls basketball, as the Wildcats will host the Smithsburg Leopards. Then on Tuesday, February 18th, it's boys basketball again, as North Hagerstown goes on the road to face the Boonesboro Warriors. You can watch the games here on Antietam Broadband, channels 806 and 6, on the live stream page at antietam.broadband.com, or by downloading the WCL-TV on-the-go app for your mobile phone or tablet. That app is available for iOS or Android operating systems. Don't forget to look us up on social media. On Twitter, we are at Inside Sports OL. On Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, it's at Inside Sports Now. That's all for Inside Sports this week. My thanks to Kevin Dunleavy, Bob Parcelletti, and Dan Kaufman for being here today, and we thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you back here next week on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets. Hey, don't complain to mother, they hiding under cover, you gotta get up on your feet. Now I feel it in my bones again. Yeah, feel it, but you're never gonna let it in until you get up.